Welcome to the deep dive. So we're starting today with a really powerful premise, which is that the appearance of success, well, it's often a spectacular distraction from the reality of substance. Our mission here is to take this, this pretty challenging stack of source material, it's centered on 2 Corinthians 13, and pull out a framework that helps you, the learner, see the difference between true strength and what just looks like it. I mean, we spend our whole lives evaluating metrics, right? We look at follower counts, quarterly returns, soaring attendance.
All that stuff, the charismatic leader. And we instinctively we link that output to success.
But what if those very metrics, the flashiness, the captivating presentation, the sheer volume of it all, are fundamentally flawed? What if they're just designed to mislead?
And that's our anchor point for this entire deep dive. We are trying to understand the difference between that perceived strength, which usually follows these highly visible worldly standards, and the actual sustaining power, which often works quietly.
In the background.
Exactly. So we're going to trace this idea back to its biblical paradox, this idea that weakness can, in fact, be the ultimate form of strength. Then we'll get into a really crucial framework for evaluating anything, really. This battle between heat and light.
And then a real-world example.
Yes, a living case study. A community that for decades has intentionally prioritized light over heat. And we can see the long-term results of that choice.
Okay, let's get right into that central paradox because it really flies in the face of pretty much every modern leadership principle. Paul, writing to the Corinthians, he was under a lot of pressure.
Immense pressure. His opponents were basically saying, show us your credentials. They were demanding proof that he was a true apostle.
So essentially, you don't look powerful. Where's the big, undeniable evidence of your authority?
And Paul's response is what grounds this whole paradox. He just leans right into the criticism. He says, basically, I'm going to prove my apostleship not through some worldly show, but by living out the example of Christ himself. When I am weak, then I am strong.
Which for that audience must have been jarring.
Oh, completely. They were used to these powerful traveling philosophers who, demanded high payment and delivered this incredible complex rhetoric. And Paul was, frankly, a disappointment to them.
How so?
He refused to charge for his teaching. He was sometimes physically ill, and his preaching style compared to others was apparently quite plain. He lacked that professional polish we expect from a successful public figure.
He was being judged on his presentation, not
the actual content.
Yeah.
Precisely. And this is why he connects his own situation directly to the ultimate example. Jesus Christ. I mean, think about the cross.
Right. According to every human, political, or military standard, the cross was the ultimate display of weakness, of defeat and humiliation.
It was a public execution. It was failure.
And yet, history and theology both say that that moment of ultimate weakness is the central demonstration of power.
It's the ultimate display of God's great power. And our source material really points out that the insight here is this complete clash of measurement standards. By the worldly standards, the standards of Rome, of the Athenian marketplace, of Paul's critics, both Jesus and Paul were judged as weak. They just lacked the obvious political might, the big stage, the immediate overwhelming win.
But by the divine standard, they were profoundly strong.
Because their actions were rooted in genuine, ultimate truth. And in sacrifice.
That distinction applies directly to leadership today. I mean, we tend to associate strength with being loud or uncompromising or always being, visibly busy and dominant.
It often gets mistaken for aggression or rigidity. But true, biblical strength, the kind Paul shows, is flexible. It's discerning. A mature leader knows when to be gentle and patient, which looks weak, and when to be firm and decisive for, say, correction or clarity.
It's wisdom.
It's a wisdom that's rooted in sustainable character, not manufactured hype or fear of looking soft. It means having the inner confidence to look weak to the world if that's what the moment requires.
So that shifts the whole discussion. It moves success from external metrics to internal character. So if we take that principle that true strength can look like weakness, how do we practically apply that? How do we measure the effectiveness of organizations or leaders or even the news we consume?
And that moves us right into section 2, which gives us this powerful framework, the battle between heat and light. Our sources contrast these two competing measurement systems that are always pulling at any institution trying to get some momentum.
Okay, let's define the first one. This is the one that's most common in the marketplace. The worldly standard, which we're calling heat. What defines that?
Heat is all about immediate excitement, emotional intensity. It's what gets a quick, popular response. The source is very direct, using phrases like mouth foaming, nonstop rhetoric, sensational promotion, like magazine publicity, and just generally generating a huge amount of buzz. Success is judged by how hot the room feels, how high the energy goes, and how fast it all scales.
So if we were applying this to finance, it's like the super volatile stock that promises a 10x return overnight, based purely on hype and market chatter.
Not on solid long-term fundamentals. That is a perfect analogy. It's performance designed for an immediate emotional reaction, and that heat is so often mistaken for genuine substance. This is perfectly illustrated by this anecdote in the source material about a respected pastor, a very quiet, grounded man who has since passed away.
Yeah, that story is vital because it makes this abstract idea really concrete. What happened?
Well, this pastor had a preaching style that was described as quiet, subdued, very focused on the text. A visiting writer, someone who was clearly used to these big, energetic, maybe even theatrical church services, he came and listened, and later he criticized the pastor.
What did he say?
He implied the service lacked power, that he was waiting for the sermon to really get going. Why? Because the visitor was judging the content only by its energetic output. He was used to services that generated maximum heat.
So he was looking for the emotional high, the loud volume, the performative intensity, and when he didn't get it, he just assumed the substance wasn't there.
Exactly. And yet this quiet leader built a remarkably strong church community, precisely because he prioritized foundation over fervor. He understood the real standard for shepherding, which is what we're calling light, the divine standard.
And how is that different?
It's completely different. The focus shifts entirely to content rooted in biblical truth, the unwavering substance, and genuine, observable Christian character. Light doesn't burn quickly or violently. It illuminates steadily, sustainably.
This distinction is crucial for any learner. I mean, are you consuming news that's designed only to outrage you, that emotional heat? Or are you seeking deep, nuanced reporting that provides light, even if it's less thrilling?
It challenges us to look beyond the marketing. And speaking of marketing, we have to touch on this concept that often gets confused in all this: success theology.
Right, this is one of the specific terms we should probably define.
Yeah. Generally speaking, it's the idea that God guarantees material success. So, wealth, health, visible prosperity, if you just have enough faith.
So it directly links that visible worldly heat to divine favor.
Right. It suggests that if your church is booming, if your pastor is famous, if you're personally wealthy, then you must be operating on God's highest plane. Our sources argue this is a form of deception, one that fundamentally mistakes temporary, flashy output for eternal substance. It elevates the metrics of a corporation over the reality of the cross.
To really anchor this concept, this idea of choosing light over heat, we need a concrete example, a community that actually puts this philosophy into practice every single week.
And this brings us to our case study, the Beipu Church in Taiwan.
Okay.
The Beipu Church is a remarkable example of endurance. It was founded in 1971, but here's the astonishing detail. For 20 years, until 1991, it operated without a dedicated full-time professional pastor.
20 years without a pastor?
Yeah, it was held together by the commitment of its members. It was sustained by light, not by some centralized, charismatic heat.
2 decades of grassroots effort. I mean, that immediately proves a level of internal resilience that most modern top-down organizations would really struggle to replicate.
Absolutely. The community was the foundation. The current pastor arrived in 1991, fresh out of seminary, and has served for over 3 decades now. And it's in a complex area, too. Multi-ethnic, multicultural, dealing with Taiwanese, Mandarin, and indigenous languages.
So what structural choices did they make that actively prioritized this idea of light over heat?
They adopted a traditional Presbyterian structure, which emphasizes the pulpit as the center of the entire service. It's not about the music or the lights or the social program. The whole gathering is centered on the meticulous transmission of God's truth.
So the pastor's main job is just rigorous preparation, to deliver genuine, sometimes difficult truth, not just to entertain or inspire a momentary high.
That's the expectation, rigor and depth. Now, as for the service itself, our sources noted some striking choices they made to eliminate that artificial heat.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, their worship style actively avoids most of the modern elements we associate with generating emotional intensity. To be specific, they use no drums, no rock music elements, and no formal worship team or band.
Really? None at all?
None. The entire service is short and intensely focused. They sing one hymn, they have a brief moment to greet one another, and then they go directly into the sermon. The service is built entirely around the Word.
That is a profoundly countercultural choice. It deliberately removes all the easily accessible emotional hooks that draw huge crowds today.
And this choice is driven by a deep philosophy of worship. It connects back to Jesus' own words. The source references his dialogue with the Samaritan woman, where Jesus says true worship must be in spirit and truth. And the concept of truth there implies sincerity, reality, and genuine adherence to biblical fact.
In other words, if you remove the easy emotional event, the performance aspect of it, what you're left with is the need for intellectual engagement and sincere heart change.
Precisely. Their model actively contrasts with services that feel like performance-like programs, or are designed just to vent or satisfy emotions. They're focused on intellectual alignment with reality, not emotional catharsis.
So what were the long-term results of this decades-long commitment to quiet substance?
The results are profound. This focus on light over heat fostered a unique culture. The church built strong, family-like relationships, and critically, it established a solid foundation of faith knowledge through persistent teaching and Bible studies.
And what's the impact of that?
Well, the source observes that this depth helps members become real Christians. It helps them avoid that common societal perception that believers or leaders in any field can be very, very hypocritical. That is the enduring impact of substance. It produces authentic, sustainable character that can stand up to scrutiny.
Which brings us right to section 4, the impact of substance, why this matters to you, the learner. The core idea here is that when you put all this together, you realize that true power isn't something you can just purchase or market or manage into existence.
No, true power is not an advertisement. It's not a corporate management strategy, and it's certainly not measured by the quick, temporary metrics of success theology. It's what sustains you when the inevitable difficulties and contradictions show up.
In a world where we are constantly being sold enthusiasm and speed, how do we apply this light versus heat metric to the decisions we make every day? Whether we're evaluating a leader, a business opportunity, or a major life goal.
We have to intentionally stop asking, how much excitement did this generate? And start asking, how much character did this require and how much sustainable truth did it establish?
And that takes personal rigor. It means accepting that true character development, true power, is often messy. It involves facing reality, acknowledging faults, seeking genuine repentance, and striving for correction. All of which looks like weakness in a culture that demands flawlessness.
It really challenges our assumptions about perfection. The sources warn against this subtle temptation of seeking absolute perfection in small, minute matters, focusing intensely on minor rules or external appearances.
Right.
Sometimes that intense focus on the outer shell is just a distraction from the main goal, which is foundational inward character growth.
It's focusing on the heat of the presentation rather than the light of the content. If you're focused on achieving this absolute, unblemished outward perfection in tiny, visible areas, you might be sacrificing the messy, difficult work of developing fundamental faith and love and correction.
Exactly. We're not called to create a flawless advertisement. We're called to be light and salt in the world, which requires the courage to look weak when taking up the cross, admitting mistakes, being gentle when it's needed, and being firm only for the sake of truth. This is how we build long-term power and substance.
That is a fundamental challenge to the way we consume information and judge others. The greatest, most enduring power often hides in what the world dismisses as weakness and real substance. That illuminating light will always outweigh emotional fervor, the fleeting heat.
It's a call to shift your focus from volatility to veracity, from the shaky to the solid.
We've covered Paul's ultimate paradox. We've detailed the necessary distinction between heat and light, and we've seen the practical application in the deep resilience of the Beipu Church. As we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a core reflection from our source material that really applies to any endeavor, personal or professional. Think about the energy you put into your own efforts or learning goals. Are you prioritizing heat? The energetic presentation, the excitement, that temporary feeling of accomplishment that fades so quickly? Or are you investing in light, the foundational truth, the sustainable character, the depth of understanding that endures?
And maybe ask yourself, where in my life am I currently mistaking a lack of professional polish or outward aggression for a lack of true sustainable strength?
May you find the wisdom and peace that come from operating in light, and may your character be the truest measure of your success. We appreciate you diving deep with us.